It has been one of those weeks. One of those weeks where you forget to put your call to worship in your script. It has been one of those weeks, friends, in so many different ways. So I invite you to just be present here in this moment, in this space. Take a breath with me, in and out, and in and out. And know that in those weeks when things are hard, perhaps harder than you thought might be imaginable, harder than you were expecting, we still have this. We still have community. We still have each other. We still have a sense of possibility and hope, even in the hardest of times. And so in this service, as we think about what this church means to us and where we are heading, it is good to be together this morning. Come and let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit. It's number 347 in your gray hymnal. And I invite you to remain risen for our chalice lighting and then our affirmation. We now
We now light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and invite you who are joining us via Zoom to light your chalice or the candle in your heart, and to write into the chat where you are lighting today. Our chalice lighting words this morning are by Laura Wallace. As frozen earth holds the determined seed, this sacred space holds our weariness, our worry, our laughter, and our celebration. Let us bring seed and soul into the light of thought, the warmth of community, and hope of love. Let us see together, hear together, love together.
And now I invite you to join me in saying our church's affirmation. We say the words in English and in Spanish as a reminder of the many languages that are spoken in this community and beyond, the many languages of the heart. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls may grow into harmony with the divine. This do we covenant with one another. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Habitar juntos en paz, buscar la verdad y servir a la humanidad juntos, con el fin de que todas las almas puedan crecer en armonía con lo divino. Esto es lo que pactamos unos con otros.
We light this candle in recognition of Tamien and Muwekma Ohlone, indigenous peoples, who were the first, who were the first humans to inhabit and sustain this land thousands of years before settler colonizers arrived. We honor the resistance of those indigenous people in the face of devastating harm. And we lift up the resilience of their neighboring tribe to the south, the Amamutsun tribal band, with whom we are working to preserve their sacred land of Uristak and to ensure that their culture continues to thrive. Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of San Jose. You are truly welcome here. We are people of many genders and sexualities. Gender diversity is sacred, and we cherish all other diversities among us, including racial, ethnic, and financial diversity, and the diversity of our beliefs. Also the diversity of size and shape and color of our bodies, and what we are capable of doing at any given time. We welcome you as your whole self to this sacred time and place. The mission of this church is to make love visible in all we say and do. I am Maja. My pronouns are she, her. I am trans woman in my 30s, and I wear currently a beige sweater and a denim skirt. I'm in my 30s and I speak with Polish accent. If you are new here, we invite you to visit Welcome Table after the service during the social hour in Hattie Potter Hall, where you can also grab a hot drink and snacks. Please reach out and and talk with any of us. We will now say hi to our friends joining us on Zoom. And now the camera person will show the friends in the room so that friends on Zoom can see them. We have 3 ADA accessible restrooms. A single-use gender-neutral restroom just outside the door, as well as a restroom labeled men and women downstairs. We offer this guidance for bathroom use. Please trust each person to know which restroom is the most comfortable and appropriate for them. Please put your phones into worship mode. Today we meet for Inspiration Sunday, which is the kickoff of our annual giving campaign. While sacredness of this place is sustained by our acts, our words, and our hearts, the bills will still appear on our doors and doors of our staff. To help sustain the physical space, we ask for people to contribute what they can, as we need to sustain a physical space to complement a spiritual one, a place where we can be for each other.
And now it's time for our story for all ages. So I invite anyone who is young or young at heart to come join me down here in the center of our sanctuary. This is a story called Mama Miti. It's by Donna Jo Napoli with illustrations by Kadir Nelson. And this is a true story. On the highlands of Africa, near forests and plains and a huge salt lick, Wangari was born. The face of Mount Kenya smiled down on her. People told stories of how in the old days, sometimes the sun shone too bright, too long, and droughts came. Creatures suffered, plants wilted, people fought. So the men held ceremonies under the mugomo, the spreading sacred fig tree, and the skies blessed them with shimmering rains to slake their thirst and water their farms. Village elders placed staffs from the thigi tree. Between angry men and enemies became friends. Wangari listened to these stories, and that's how she came to learn and love and respect trees. That's how she came to be wise in the tradition of her family and village, of her country and continent. When Wangari grew up, she worked in the city, but she always remembered her roots. She planted trees in her backyard and sat under them to refresh her body and spirit. One day, a poor woman came from the Western Valley to see the wise Wangari. Her children peeked out from behind her as the smiling woman in bright blue cloth with squiggles all through it, like tadpoles swimming in a pool. "I have too little food to feed my family," said the poor woman. "There is no longer a job for me in the timber mill, and I have no other skills. What can I do?" Wangari took the woman's hand and turned them over. She took the children's hands one by one. These are strong hands. Here are seedlings of the Mubiro Muri tree. Plant them. Plant as many as you can. Eat the berries. Dayun Nyumba. Peace, my people. The woman and her children returned home and planted trees with their strong hands, one by one. In the years to come, when flowering season was over, the family ate the shiny, round fruits. They shared with their neighbors who carried home the seeds, planted them, and grew their own Muburi Muri trees. Another came to see the wise Wangari, just as poor as the first. This one traveled from the mountains to the south. Her daughters stood beside her, thin as ropes. My daughters and I walk hours every day to find firewood to cook with, said the poor woman. It takes so long, I have no time for anything else. What can I do? Wangari took the woman by the arms. These arms are strong, she said. Plant a tree. Here are seedlings of the Mukinduri. This tree makes good firewood. Plant as many as you can. Dayu Nyumba. Peace, my people. The woman and her daughters planted those seedlings, and in time the trees grew huge with many wide branches. The woman and her daughters cut branches for warmth. They shared new seedlings with their neighbors who carried them home and grew their own Mukinduri trees. Word passed from woman to woman until all over Kenya, women knew about the wise Wangari. They came to her from every direction, one after another, as the years went by. Wangari told women to plant Muringono, whose branches make good stakes for training yam vines. She told them to plant Muhuti as a living fence around their animal yards. She told them to plant Muigoya, whose leaves could be wrapped around bananas to ripen them. She told them to plant moringa for the pure joy of their white flowers. And when a woman from her own village came, lamenting that the water in her stream was too dirty to drink, Wangari told her to plant Mukuyu, the giant sacred fig, the drinker of water, which acts as nature's filter to clean streams. Dayu Nyumba, peace, my people. Soon, cool, clear waters teemed with black, wriggling tadpoles like the ones on Wangari's clothes, like the ones Wangari marveled at in the waters when she was small, when Kenya was covered with trees and animals, when people lived in peace with nature. And all over the countryside, the trees that had disappeared came back. Nairobi, the capital city, had once been known as Kinyuni, the place where there are many minu trees. Now, it was Kinyuni again. Kenya was strong once more, strong and peaceful. Wangari changed a country, tree by tree. She taught her people the ancient wisdom of peace with nature, and then she taught the rest of the world. She came to be known as Mama Miti, the mother of trees. A green belt of peace started with one good woman offering something we can all do. Plant a tree. Dayu Nyumba. Peace, my people. Now, for her work, Wangari Maathai won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 and has indeed made a lasting impact all throughout the world. Countless people have been inspired by her, by the work she did, and have done similar work in their own lands. Today, our service was about sowing seeds for the future, sowing seeds for the people who will come after us, sowing seeds about the world we want to create and bring into being. And I think this is just a lovely example of that in action. And so today, despite what it may say in your order of service, we're going to sing a different song for our children's recessional. We're going to sing the Garden Song by I think many of you may know it. I invite you, as you feel called to rise in body or in spirit, to join in singing. The words will be on the screen. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Please warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Rain for grain, sun and rain, find my way through nature's chain. Tune my body and my brain till the music from the land. Plant your rows straight and long, temper them with prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her loving care. Last verse. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. Gonna mulch it deep and low, gonna make it fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds we sow. Please keep them safe below. Rain comes tumbling down. Thanks.
Now is the time in our service when we invite contribution that help our ministries to grow and thrive. Please make checks out to first FUCSJ. And if you are paying a pledge, write pledge in memo. You can also contribute online at sanjoseuu.org/donate. We pick fruits from trees we did not plant. We drink water from wells we did not dig. This is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who came after us. This church is here because of the offerings of generations who came before us. Let us invest in the future with this morning's offering. If you are unable to contribute today, please know your presence is gift enough. Thank you.
During our annual giving campaign, each week we are going to hear a testimonial from someone in the congregation about what this church means to them. And so this morning, for our first one, we have Patrick Canonge.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Excellent. Some of you know me, some of you don't. So my name is Patrick. I am 6'2", 230 pounds. I have a gray sweater on, blue jeans, overgrown curly hair, and an overgrown beard. So what this church means to me is grounding. What this church means to me is all of you in here. I know most of you for the last 12 years of my life, and those last 12 years of my life have never been more full. I have never learned more about myself since meeting all of you and being a part of this community. For me, I walked in here 12 years ago looking for community. I had moved from Southern California and I did not know a soul. I walked in here and made immediate friends, and I haven't left since. So I contribute as best I can. Part of what supports me and what feels good to me is being able to support this, our spiritual home. So I'm involved in the building committee, and I strongly urge others to get involved in some of the other committees around here. You'll make friends and have a good time, and do something for your community. This building's very special to me and all of us, and it was a labor of love, and I would do it all over again if I had that opportunity. So that's kind of what FUCSJ means to me. I love you all. Like I said, you've all been there for me, so thank you very much, and have a beautiful Sunday.
Each week we take time in our service to lift up those joys and sorrows within our community and in the wider world. In a moment, I'm going to sound this singing bowl, and after I do, I invite you to speak into this space or type into the chat as you feel called, any joys or sorrows that are on your heart this morning, any names or occasions that you would like lifted up, with words overlapping other words. Doesn't matter if everyone can hear everyone. Offering these into the space so that they might be held. For we were never meant to hold them alone. People impacted by the government. All that has been shared and all that is too tender yet to share, but which we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. We offer these into the embrace of this beloved community. And if you want someone to talk to, if just saying it aloud into the space is not enough, you can stop by our pastoral associates table after the service where you can talk to our pastoral associate of the week, or also write something in our book of joys and sorrows and light a candle. I invite you to join me in a spirit of meditation or prayer. It's been hard at times for me to find words this week, so I'm grateful that I'm not in this alone, and so I offer these words from the Reverend Dana Edwards. God of many names and beyond all naming, in this time of shock and awe, when it is so very difficult to find you, when dread and doom lurk in the corners of our hearts, and our hearts are so easy to default to a jaded and empty nihilism. We will not give up our faith and our belief in something better. We will not abdicate the religious language and the moral narrative to those filled with hate. We will not withdraw to isolation and sadness, as tempting as it may be. We will not release what we know to be true and right for the sake of keeping the peace. No. Instead, we will find strength in the holy and the divine. We will be fortified by each other in community. We will center down into our religious values of generosity and justice, pluralism and equity, and transformation and interdependence, and most importantly, love. A love that, as the Reverend Abi Janamanchi says, won't let us down, let us go, or let us off the hook. Open our hearts to that deep and abiding love. Amen and blessed be. When I came across this prayer after our order of service was printed, it made me think of this song, Keep Your Heart Wide Open by Leah Morris. And so I'm going to sing it to you. Just listen the first time, and then some words will show up on the screen the second time. Keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You've got to keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Sing with me. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open, though the waves wanna push me around. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till my faith brings me back to solid ground. One more time. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open, though the waves wanna push me around. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till my faith brings me back to solid ground. Whether today is your first time here, or you've been coming here for longer than I've been alive, you came here today because you were looking for something. Maybe you came seeking deeper meaning in your life. Maybe you came here this morning seeking healing and comfort. I imagine many of you did. Maybe you came because you needed community, to see friends, to be around other people. Maybe you came because you wanted to be connected, feel connected to something larger than yourself. Maybe you came here because you want your kids to be part of a faith community that teaches good values but doesn't tell them what they have to believe. Maybe you came for the joy of baby noises. Maybe you came seeking to be recharged and inspired to do the work of justice. Or maybe you came this morning lost, not knowing what exactly it was that you needed, but confident in the feeling that some need within you would be met. Amen. For me, Unitarian Universalism is what keeps me rooted and grounded. Like roots that spread beneath the surface, those Unitarian Universalist roots that I grew up with as a child, that grew up in this faith, keep me upright and stable when my life gets stormy. I know I can depend on those roots to help me weather what life throws at me. Sure, in challenging times, buffeted by heavy rains and strong winds, I might sway or bend, and a branch might even break under rough conditions. But at my core, I know that I am secure. I know that my faith and my faith community is there to provide support and stability. I'm so grateful for this faith, which has provided me not only support, but like roots, has provided me nourishment when I needed it. Like roots that pull in all of the nutrients in the surrounding soil, just like that ground is full of the nutrients necessary for the plants to grow and stay healthy. My faith helps me tap into those sources that sustain me. Coming to church reminds me to be grateful for life's gifts, for those things around me that are sustaining and nourishing, especially when times are hard. The listening ear of a friend, having clean drinking water, my daughter's laughter, the green shoots of life growing up around me, the long line of justice seekers on whose shoulders I stand, how fresh and clear the air is after the rains. Now, of course, those things would still be there regardless of whether I was a Unitarian Universalist or not, but this faith helps me tap into the sustenance they provide. And so I'm grateful for the people who came before me, who helped sow those seeds that grew those roots. Those people who sowed those first seeds almost 160 years ago this year. And all of the people who have come after and continuing to sow seeds of hope for a future, hope for the future they wanted to create. So today, as Maja said, is Inspiration Sunday, the kickoff of our annual giving campaign. But let me tell you, it has been hard to find inspiration this week. I told you the Sunday after the election that was one of the hardest sermons I'd ever written. This was the hardest sermon that I've ever even tried to write. It's not quite finished. I'm going to riff a little bit in points. I have been shocked, horrified, fearful, and perhaps most of all, angry. The brazen and illegal power grabs, the corruption, the cruel attacks on LGBTQ people and immigrants, ending DEI in the government. Let me remind you that DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is not an acronym. Those are our values as Unitarian Universalists. Freezing life-saving federal money and grants, ordering ICE raids against immigrant communities, now in schools and in churches as well, the attacks on the environment when we cannot afford any more, unqualified people leading institutions they have no place leading, up and down the government. In my column for this month's newsletter, and I struggled to write it, so I invite you to read it because I worked really hard. I wrote about how the shock and overwhelm is the goal. To make it so that we feel helpful and forget about our collective power. And so we must remember that there have been challenging times before, and that the work of love and justice, of building a better future, is long-haul work that is best done in community. And that is no small part of the history of this church. The first Unitarian service in San Jose was preached by the Reverend Charles Gordon Ames at the end of the Civil War and was dedicated to the freedom and dignity of all people. Reverend Ames, along with several of the church's founders, were active in the women's suffrage movement, including Laura J. Watkins, who brought Reverend Ames to preach that first sermon. In addition to being an avid suffragette, she was also an organizer for the U.S. Sanitary Commission, which would later become the Red Cross. In the early 1900s, women from the church formed a club to visit the ill in their homes, which then developed into the San Jose Visiting Nurses Association, an organization that existed until the 90s, while others founded the San Jose Day Nursery, the first daycare in the city of San Jose, still up and running downtown. This church was one of the few who publicly opposed the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. During the McCarthy era of the 1950s, this church, along with 6 others, resisted a California law that required churches to sign a loyalty oath in a case that they eventually ended up winning at the Supreme Court. After Reverend Sidney Peterman organized a delegation of Unitarian ministers to go to Selma, Alabama in 1965, the church began a project to provide host families and summer jobs for Black teens from Selma, an effort which broadened to become an interfaith and multiracial project. In the 1970s, we offered worship space to the newly formed LGBT-friendly Metropolitan Community Church and hosted 12-step groups for the lesbian and gay community when other churches would not. In the late 60s, in the late 60s, the church was part of an interfaith group that organized the Urban Food Organization to feed the hungry in downtown San Jose. And as its host for the first 6 years, we offered 100 meals daily. And to this day, volunteers continue that tradition by serving meals at the Julian Street Inn shelter. In the 80s, this church declared itself a sanctuary for refugees fleeing the wars in Central America and has continued to support immigrants to this day. In the 2000s, we campaigned for marriage equality until it became the law of the land. And right now, we're in the midst of helping protect the Ama Mutsun tribal band's sacred land of Huristok from being desecrated by a mining operation. And there's more, of course. Those are just some highlights. Many of these aspects of our history were and are forward-thinking. People creating and supporting programs and institutions that grew to serve not just this church and its community, but the broader community and the wider world. Yet, when those folks took those initial actions, sowed those first seeds, they couldn't have known what would result. But they knew something was needed and sowed seeds for a future that they wanted to create, for a future that was more just and equitable, a future where all people would have the freedom and dignity that Reverend Ames preached about in that first sermon almost 160 years ago. A future that we still strive for today. Perhaps now more than ever. Right now, over the past few weeks, we've been in conversation with our partners at PACT, People Acting in Community Together, about a training for a rapid response, the Rapid Response Network, when there are immigration raids against members of our community that will probably be happening in March, and an accompaniment team to offer support for immigrant families. I know some of you have already participated in one, whether it was in the past few weeks or whether it was 8 years ago. This Tuesday at 1:30, there are 2 agenda items before the San Jose City Council that allies are asking for people to show up and speak about. One is about reaffirming the city's commitment to preserving safety and dignity of all of its residents, regardless of national origin or legal status. And the other to support diverting emergency calls away from police to the mobile response team, who is much better equipped to work with people experiencing mental health crises and result in interactions that are much less likely to end up with imprisonment or death. So if you are looking, like I have been looking, for something to do in the face of all of this awfulness, maybe you can join me at the City Council meeting this Tuesday at 1:30. And there are conversations happening a couple weeks ago with our social justice council about how we might re-energize some of our justice work, some of which has been plugging along and some of which could use some new life. And so looking at having a training or a workshop, not a training, a workshop on that in April as an opportunity to think about what it is that we can do to serve our community, what it is that our community needs right now, what it is that we have to offer. They want us to feel overwhelmed. I'm reminded of the quote, which I'll paraphrase. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. And so in the midst of this situation where truly, I think as Unitarian Universalists, we are going to be called to respond actively, forcefully, and repeatedly, not without breaks, not without finding time for rest, not without finding time for joy, because we need those too. But to engage in this work together with each other, to help bring about that future that we have been dreaming about, that our ancestors have been dreaming about, so that there might be a better world, a better community, a better church, for those who come after us. Maybe I had those in the wrong order. Your gifts of time and talent and treasure are what keeps this congregation going. They are the roots that support and sustain this congregation so that it can flourish, so that it can be a place of healing and comfort, of exploration and growth, of connection and community, of hope and inspiration, of energy and action, so that you who are here and those who have not yet set foot in these hallowed walls, and those who may never set foot in this space, but may be impacted by our ministries, may be allowed to flourish. By supporting this church, we sow seeds for the future. Something we need to keep doing, keep dreaming about, keep thinking about that future that we want to create. It's been really easy to just get lost in, oh my God, how terrible things are. We need to have the ability to keep dreaming together, to hold out that hope, to act from love, to protect all that we care about. The people, this country, our planet. And of course, we're not in it alone. We're not in it alone as individuals, not even as a church community. We are part of a wider movement. And that gives us hope. And so by supporting this church, by sowing those seeds for the future, you are helping to make sure that the ministries of this church remain strong and vital. You are helping to make sure that this church will continue to support not just what you get out of this congregation, but all of those ministries that touch people in ways large and small, known and unknowable. Thank you for all that you have given so far. Not just money, your time, your talent, and treasure. All of these are essential to sustaining this community. And so thank you for all you have given, and thank you for all you will give. It truly is a blessing. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join with me in singing "We Shall Be Known," song by Carisha Longacre of the duo Ma Muse. It's an a cappella song. I know we've sung it a few times. So it may be familiar to some of you, maybe not to others. So I invite you to listen if you want to listen, to join in if you want to join in. We'll sing it a few times through. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. One more time. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. Sing it like you mean it. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Good morning, all. My name is Steve Madden, and my pronouns are he and him. I am a cisgendered white male with short brown hair. I'm wearing a lavender long-sleeve shirt with a checkered pattern and black pants and shoes. Today, I am speaking to you in my role as the head of the church's stewardship team. As Reverend Matthew made clear, for a very, very long time since right after the Civil War, members and friends of your church have proudly contributed to keep this church on 3rd Street vibrant and active in this community. Today, we once again kick off our annual giving campaign. You've heard from Reverend Matthew and Maja that our theme this year is Sowing Seeds for the Future. Throughout February, there will be pledge parties in person or by Zoom where you can make your pledge for the church's 2025-26 fiscal year. This is the primary way that we financially support our church, including paying the salaries of our wonderful staff and minister. In February, we want to achieve our goal of $425,000 in pledges so that the congregation's membership can approve next year's fiscal budget in May. If I could ask our terrific tech team to put up the list of pledge parties. So you will see up on the screen that we have 5 parties, the first being actually tonight, and I understand there's still 4 spaces there, Los Gatos. Then next Friday evening in Santa Clara, we have a party in Saratoga on Saturday, February 15th, a Zoom party on Wednesday the 19th, and we finish it out with a Sunday soup and salad in Southwest San Jose, I believe the Cambrian area. So you can sign up for one of the pledge parties by visiting sanjoseuu.org/pledge party. That's one word, pledge party. Or you can email stewardship@sanjoseuu.org. These parties are a great way to experience fun and friendship while making your pledge. You can also come to the stewardship table in Hattie Porter Hall, straight through those double doors after the service. First, please enjoy special treats during coffee hour, courtesy of the stewardship team. Then please stop by the stewardship table. Carolyn Bowman and I would be happy to answer your questions, sign you up for a pledge party, or even take your pledge. On Sunday, March 2nd, we're going to have a party. Please come to Celebration Sunday here at the church, where we'll celebrate the conclusion of this annual giving campaign. During his Nobel Prize acceptance speech in 1980, human rights activist Adolfo Pérez Esquivel said, "We know we cannot plant seeds with closed fists. To sow, we must we must open our hands." So I encourage you today to open your hands, sow seeds for the future, and make a pledge. Thank you.
As our service comes to a close, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for our benediction words. I invite you to take a hand or bump elbows, touch a shoulder as you feel comfortable with someone nearby you. Just as you feel comfortable. And just a quick note, if you came here looking for something because you needed something and perhaps found it today, and you think there might be someone who's looking for this as well, next Sunday is a Bring a Friend Sunday. So I invite you to invite someone who you think might benefit from being here in this community, especially during these times. And I offer these words from the Reverend John C. Morgan. In the end, it won't matter how much we have, but how generously we have given. It won't matter how much we believe, but how deeply we love. And it won't matter how much we know, but how well we live. Join in singing Life Calls Us On. Go in peace, go in love. Sow seeds for the future.